A healed woman will make much clearer decisions than an exhausted one. A woman with a regulated nervous system can make decisions out of discernment, clarity, intention, using intuition and all of the mental faculties that women are born with or that are developed. And when you're exhausted or you're living in a type of chaos or dysfunction, you'll find yourself making decisions based off of being desperate or fearful or anxious or even impulse. And a lot of times our impulse decisions, they're not made with that frontal cortex part of our brain, they're made with the amygdala. It's like the fear of something. Oh, I have to get this before it sells out, or time is running out and you feel like you're behind, and so you make a decision to try to recover the time, and then the decision ends up costing you your peace, ends up costing you more progress than you would make if you were to just calmly make a decision based off facts and clarity. And this has been a kind of a revelation for me over the past few years. I spent a lot of years, I didn't even know about like a woman's cycle. I mean, obviously I knew about her cycle, but I didn't know about like the four phases of the cycle up until like I was 40. And I'm going to be 43 next month. And I'm thinking, how did I not know this? And it's something that I'm teaching my kids now. And it's something that I'm teaching my husband, because clearly he doesn't know. I'm like, don't bother me when I'm a week before my period. I'm going to rip your head off. And so these are things that when we become in tuned to what triggers us, what puts us in a state of fear or anxiousness, or puts us in a place where we're making decisions. When you're desperate, the next thing you're going to do is make a dumb decision. It's like crisis decisions. Oh, I gotta have this now. And you're trying to fix years of bad habits by one big move or one big, this is why people gamble. When you listen to people who have a gambling addiction, it's always like, well, I can win it all back. Or it's just that one next big thing and I can fix all of this bad, all these bad decisions and uh, all this loss and I can recoup it all. And so if that's a problem, you're not functioning from a level of uh, like you're not functioning from your highest self. You're almost functioning at this like animalistic low version of yourself, a desperate version, a victimhood version, where you think everything's done to you instead of you actually being the real cause of it. And one day you might just wake up and be like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to tolerate these things. And I'm going to change. And so I like to do things with a type of intensity. To me, chipping away, it takes so long if you're not all in. I know people who they're trying to pay off debt, but they're not willing. They're going to cut back a little bit. They'll cancel some subscriptions or they'll do a few things. But they're not willing to really go all in. They're not willing to sell one of their two cars, or they're not willing to stop eating out, or they're not willing to cut up and close their credit card. So they haven't really reached that point of wanting the freedom. And when you reach the point of really, really desiring freedom, you're going to give those things up because you're at the point where you're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Not only am I cutting these credit cards up, I'm closing them. So you're not giving yourself a way out. Or now, you're like, I'm tired of having two car payments. Well, but you're not willing to go down to one. You're tired of the hustle and bustle of life, but you're not willing to pull back or make the changes that you need to make. And so you have to be willing to take the time to go through the process of untangling your life, because a tangled life doesn't just become untangled in one big decision. It's a process to untangle it, and it's the doing the opposite of what got you into that mess. So if you're dealing with a lot of clutter and you're like, oh, I just have so much stuff, well, stop bringing it all in. If you're bringing stuff in and you're not willing to let go of things, then you're going to have it's a math problem. I mean, you bring 10 items in and you don't let anything go, and you bring 10 more items in, you don't let anything go, okay, you're going to end up with too much. So it's not something that happened to you, it's something you did to yourself. If you're using a high interest credit card and you're only making the minimum payments and you're like, this credit card's not going anywhere, yeah, stop using it. Like, that's the first step, is to stop using it. gain some traction and momentum in the opposite direction. So you have to be willing to delay the pleasure, delay the impulse. And for a season, it might be a little boring. That's kind of what we're going through right now. It's a little boring. We don't have, I haven't hired a personal trainer right now. We're not taking trips. My kids are, they're not getting everything I used to. Yeah, sure, let's go this, let's go there, let's do, shopping, let's go on an adventure. We used to do staycations. We'd travel all over Arizona, staying at little places, and that was fun. But this is a season in our life where I told him if we can pull back right now, it'll push us much farther along than if we just pull back a little bit. So if you've got an extra $100 and you're like, well, I'll put 50 towards that and 50 towards going out to eat. Okay, no. Put 100 towards that and don't go out to eat. See, you're going to move quicker. You're going to move towards the life of freedom much quicker if you're willing to do what you need to do. And don't feel like you're behind. A lot of times we feel like we're behind and then we're like, oh, it's just I got to catch up. It's too much. And we overwhelm ourselves with the feeling of there's just too much to catch up on. There's too much to do. You're too far behind. You're never going to make it. You just got to get started. So obviously some progress is better than no progress. And if all you can do right now is chip away and put $10 a month towards savings or towards credit cards, or you can just get rid of a little bit at a time, or, do what you can do. But try to increase the intensity so you can make better progress and break it up into different areas in your life. Don't try to complete everything at once. So if your focus is on getting in shape, then you're not really focused on decluttering, because you still could dabble in it and you're still doing a little bit of it, but your main focus is the thing that you're trying to get results in that season. So what I like to do is every 90 days or 6 months, it depends on how big the hill is that I'm tackling, but let's say 90 days. Every 90 days, you're splitting things up into a new goal, a new season. So maybe for 90 days, you're like, I'm all in on decluttering and paying off debt. Okay, so for that 90 days, you're not eating out. So you're not really focused on the other areas because all of your focus is going into decluttering, simplifying, selling what you can, and putting it as much towards debt. Now, if it takes 6 months, then you extend it another 90 days. That doesn't mean you're going to eat like junk and you're not, you're laying around during that time. You still do the little things that are beneficial for you, like walking and eating clean and that kind of thing. But you're not really 100% focused on those areas. If the focus is on your working out, okay, you paid off your debt. Now you're like, okay, I'm all in. I'm going to get in really good shape. So for the next 90 days or 6 months, maybe you do hire a trainer. Maybe you get a food program. Maybe you increase your protein, so you're buying a little bit more steak and beef, which could be a little bit pricier, but you're all in on that. So you're focusing on that. So you're maintaining one area. You paid off the debt, and maybe now while you're working out, you're putting some money in savings. So, and what I like to do is little celebrations in between. You still want to, hey, we're going to celebrate because we completed this big task and now we're going to celebrate. It doesn't mean we're going to go backwards. It just means that we're going to take a pause, recognize the progress that we made, feel good about it, and really you're only looking back to see how far you came, because the Bible talks a lot about not looking back into the past, but you want to measure and say, wow, I really did make progress. I really did. I'm not where I was a year ago, or 6 months ago, or 3 months ago. I have changed. So you want to look at the progress that you're making, because during it, you don't really see it. Because you're not, you should measure it. Like I'm measuring things by the day and then by the week, but it's good to look back and say, okay, 90 days ago I was this much in debt, and now I'm not. Wow, it really is working. Or 90 days ago I didn't have this much muscle, and now I do. So you're measuring things, because whatever you can measure, you can control. If you are ignorant about it and you're not willing to take a look or measure your progress, or even look at the situation, you can't get it under control if you're not willing to even look at it or talk about it. You just got to get going. It's so much easier to steer, like if a horse is running, to steer it in the direction that you want it to go than it is to try to get that horse to get going, and you're trying to, just get it going. That's much harder. So once you get going, you make the adjustments that you need, you make the pivots, you make the process. You can simplify things for what works for you in that time. And Ooh, it's getting hot out here. Let me move. But the change requires a type of disruption. And the disruption comes when you say, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm not living this way anymore. I'm not tolerating this. I'm not going to, I'm not going to continue being this lower version of myself. And when you disrupt your habits and you disrupt your patterns, this is what I did in 2023. I had to move. I had to disrupt everything. I couldn't just get rid of a little bit. I had to get rid of 80% of our stuff, cut up the credit cards, move, like literally uproot, go, like change how we lived. Say no to, toxic family members. Put up boundaries. Like I had to disrupt our whole life and shake everybody up. And it really gets you out of your comfort zone, and especially your family, if they're used to, well, we eat out once a week, or we go here, or we do this. Why aren't we doing this anymore? And they could feel a little disappointed, but you have to remind them this is so we can grow. We need to grow and we need to develop. So we need to disrupt our life to grow. That's how you change your paradigm. You change it through either massive disruption or a traumatic experience, which doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be a big disruption, or repeating over and over and over and over until you create those new neural pathways, and then you've created a new version of yourself. And then your default self is the new version and not the old version. That's both of those work very well. The repetition in the direction that you want to go and doing the opposite of what you've done can be very powerful, but you got to stick with it. If you're in cleanup mode, that's going to take some time. Cleaning up messes that we've made in the past is a huge part of the process. You can't just let things go and then start something new. You have to clean up the loose ends. You have to take the time that you need to clean up the messes that were created by bad decisions. Just take the time to do it. And the sooner you get in that cleanup mode and the sooner that you get things in order, the more you're going to open up your life for some goodness to flow in, prosperity to flow, clarity to flow, because you can't be really connected to what God wants you to do when you're living this fuzzy, chaotic life that's just full of all of the wrong things. Because you need clarity, you need time, you need peace, you need space, you need order. You need to steward what he's already given you before you start asking for more. You need to take the time to fix and correct the behavior and really get honest with yourself and say, why am I this way? Could it be my behavioral patterns, wherever they came from? They came from your childhood, probably, your upbringing. They came from possibly a bad relationship, or they came just from not really taking control and thinking that you're a victim. Either way, you have to get honest with yourself and understand that you can only change yourself. You can't change the people around you, but you can cause things to start changing by you changing, meaning that your environment will start to respond to this new version of yourself once you start changing. So you're not a victim. You've created most of the mess. You've brought in most of the clutter. You've got the weight yourself by eating too much, not exercising. You've created it. So until you get honest with yourself, you can't fix it. So start by cleaning things up, getting your life in order, and make the progress that you can make, and just keep going.